Sequel number 33. Welcome to the Church of Uganda at 150 years, a celebration. Produced by Christopher Amos Chikomeko Ntambi. In this sequel, we are going to look at Waswa Munubi and what transpired in his ministry. We will also briefly look at Bishop Taka pastoral visits, and we shall end it up with the opening of the new mission church at the top of Nsambya Hill. And so the sequel begins. Remember in 1894, June, Buganda Kingdom had been declared a British protectorate, and we have our permanent assistant commissioner, George Wilson Tayari. We saw a lot about him yesterday. However, there is this gentleman I keep introducing to you, the deserter, the military, the Muslim who had been rejected by Apollo Kagwa, although he had done wonderful intelligence for him, was Munubi. So he had been promised that once the company is out and the British government is in, Apollo Kagwa will try to fix him in the military, the Uganda Rifles, the native Uganda Rifles. So again they tried, but again Waswa Munubi was not admitted. Apollo Kagwa had done everything for Waswa Munubi to join, but poor man, he was still rejected. Of course, the height was the problem. They wanted very tall soldiers like the Nubians, who had now been redeployed from Fort Cherry in Fort Portal, in Toro, to Bombo, to Jinja, and to Kibera in Fort Smith or Nairobi. Now, Waswa Munubi completed his catechism and teacher training course at Namirembe, having known how to read and write. He was therefore baptized in January 1895. Victory for Waswa Munubi. Remember, a Muslim? And as a Muslim, he was supposed to have migrated to Butambala. As a soldier, in fact, he was supposed to have migrated to Butambala. But anyway, he was a deserter. He had already deserted the military faction of the Muslims and given very great intelligence in Kabula. He had given very great intelligence to Apollo Kagwa and Captain Lugard, actually, which saved their lives. They were very grateful to him. That's why he had this gift from the military, Ekizibao, Echivebulaya, or the military jacket from Europe. So he completely dropped his old identity names, Waswa Munubi. Why did he? Because military desertion has always been a crime anywhere in the world. So was in Buganda. He did not want to be identified as a traitor to the Muslim faction. So he completely dropped his old identity. He was not to be called Waswa. He was going to be called Munubi. He decided to completely drop his identity. And so when they asked, what shall be the name of this man? And guess what he proposed? He proposed that he be called Chivebulaya from Europe. What? The jacket, the military jacket. That unique military jacket, which had become his nickname. He now asked that he be baptized and his new name becomes that, so that he can do away with his entire identity that was to be accompanied by the old name. One, as a military deserter, but secondly, now from Muslim to Christianity. Now, that was for the son name, but Archdeacon Walker chose for him the name Apollo for his Christian name. And there is a little bit of history about this name. Apollo is a biblical name, a Christian who was born in Alexandria. He lived in the in the Apostle Paul times in Ephesus, and he preached the gospel. There are witnesses to this. The Bible talks about a woman called Priscilla and Aquila who noticed him preaching. In June 1895, Apollo Kivebulaya asked for special permission to leave Buganda. I think you see how strategic this man was. He deserted from the military. He sought to join the Uganda Rifles. The opportunity was rejected. All he got was a jacket from Europe, military jacket. He then went to Namirembe with the help of Apollo Kagwa. He's now a catechist. He's now a teacher. But he does not want to practice. He does not want to do ministry in Buganda. Why? Yes, Buganda is a problem. He's a deserter. He has a bad history. As far as the military is concerned, those of you who have some military experience, you would agree with me. So he has to leave. He has to get out of here. So he asked that he leaves Buganda. He even had a particular interest in a particular area, and that was Toro Kingdom. Why? Because fellow students at Namirembe were from Toro also. They had given him a brief about Toro. Even without knowing the place, he had already liked the place. And so after the class and baptism, he was given a license as a catechist, and he was therefore posted to Toro Kingdom. He was actually posted at a station called Nyagwaki among the Bakonjo as a licensed catechist. So that is our Waswamunubi, not anymore, now Apollo Kivebulaya. Okay, Bishop Tucker had fully recovered and he was back at his headquarters in Freetown. Remember the Zanzibar sickness? Now he began a pastoral visit to Taita Taveta, this is in Kenya, covering the months of February to March 1895. Bishop Tucker invited an expert teacher and missionary, his name was Hattersley, to come to Eastern Equatoria, his diocese, and set up a proper system of junior schools and colleges. He wanted to graduate from bush schools to proper schools. And he wanted some of these colleges to teach teachers who would then go into the bush schools and try to improve the pupils there, to qualify for the junior schools. And therefore, the bishop wanted a professional approach to ensure a proper foundation. So Hattersley set to travel with other professional teachers, and they left England, arriving at Freetown in July 1895. Now, I don't want to go into those details because now we know the bishop has a passion for primary education, for junior education, and he has done something about it. So I don't need to go into much details. However, let us also look at trade. How was trade in Eastern Africa at the time? There was a Muzungu, Andrew Dick. He was a former Imperial British Company worker. He started a chain of shops in 1895 dealing in caravan items. What was a caravan? That huge company of missionaries or explorers with porters, with things on their head. Now, these were not slaves. These were people working. They were paid and they were free. They were free to leave the caravan. They were free to join the caravan, and they were paid money. So these were workers. And the caravan ministry was a big industry. And so Andrew Dick formed or established a chain of shops dealing in caravan items on the Kenyan corridor to Uganda. Then there was another one, and this one perhaps the name is familiar to some of you who are a little bit big, the Alidina Visram. He was born in India, and arrived in Zanzibar at the age of 12 in the year 1863. He started a shop at Bagamoyo. Bagamoyo was the headquarters of slave trade in those days. Now, that shop grew into a chain of shops. They became known as the Visram shops, Aldina Visram shops, across the caravan corridor of Tanganyika. So, in Tanganyika, Visram, in Kenya, Andrew Dick. Now, the traders dealt in beads, ironware, ivory, hides, skins, as well as other European caravan wear. So that is so much for the trade at that time. If you are wondering how were they surviving, people were shipping in things for them. So now let's move on to the top of Namirembe Hill. On the 14th of July, 1895, the new mission church on Namirembe Hilltop was opened. It was the most prominent feature on the hill. It had a ridge pole, and this church lasted till 1901, and it was simply pulled down for a better one. Yeah, it was the mission church structure that transited from a mere church to a cathedral. So this was the one which should be called the first cathedral church, but not even in 1895. That was to come later in 1897, as we shall see in future sequels. And therefore for today, let us end it at this. May the good Lord bless us all.